The Pro Show is brought to you by Rockin' Media and our proprietary Flash HDR photo process, providing you with the best, most realistic photos of your property. See the difference at rockinmedia.com. Hi, and welcome to the Pro Show. I'm Rick Machle, and we have an awesome show today. We have agents from up and down the Front Range who are going to be talking about whether you should market your home vacant, virtually staged, or staged. We're also going to be talking a little bit about what's going on in the market and also have some great homes for sale. So check it out next on The Home Show. Well, hello, everyone. We have 5 awesome agents up and down the Front Range today with us. We have Elizabeth Nelson out of the Boulder office. She handles Superior, Boulder, Louisville. Of course, they all do listings up and down the Front Range as well. We also have Debbie Jacobs here from the South Metro office, and she works all over the place as well. Then we have Heather Maddox. She is a new agent with the show. She's out of our Park office and is also part of the Rally Group. Hey, Heather, give us a little bit of background. Where are you from? How long you been doing real estate?
Gosh. Well, I've been in Denver since 1987. My parents were realtors since 1993. They actually started the Rally Group. My sister and I, Wendy, have taken over the Rally Group when they retired a couple of years ago. And so I've been selling real estate for 20 years.
Awesome. And Heather kind of Southeast Metro, Parker area.
Southeast Metro, Parker, Elizabeth, Franktown, Highlands Ranch, Castle Rock, anything south.
Awesome.
South Denver.
Welcome to the show. And next we have Camelia Corey out of the Colorado Springs office. Hi, Camelia. She also does a lot in Monument, south of the metro area, and all the way down to Pueblo and even La Veta. We've done shoots down there as well. So she covers a lot of southern Colorado. And then we also have Carrie Holmes, who's up in northern Colorado. And hi, Carrie. How are you doing this morning?
Fantastic. Another beautiful day in Colorado.
It is. We got through our snow and we are now into a week of 60s. Welcome to Colorado. So this week we have some new stats for October from the Reventure app, and they pull data from Realtor.com and compare it to last year. That's what we're going to look at a lot this week. And in the Denver metro area, the sales inventory growth is up 59.4% year over year. So last year we had about 6,500 listings on the market, and this year we have about 10,000 listings on the market. And if we go up to Fort Collins, the inventory's up from 1,091 last year to 1,485, almost 1,500. In Greeley, it's up 23%, from 971 up to 1,201. And then as we pop down to Colorado Springs, it's up 41% from 2,100, almost 2,200 listings to 3,100 listings. And the interesting element that I find interesting right now are price cuts. In other words, people starting too high. So almost a third, 27% of the Fort Collins listings have taken a price cut. So of the 2,067, 578 have taken price cuts. 30% in Greeley. In the Denver metro area, almost 40% have taken price cuts from their initial list price. And then in Colorado Springs, about a third have done list cuts. Also, the days on market year over year are up a little bit in the Greeley area. They're up from 43 to 50, and they're up from 58 from 47 up in the Fort Collins area. Boulder's at 56 days on market from 44 last year. The Denver metro area is up 51 from 41, and Colorado Springs is up significantly, about 27%, from 44 to 56. So what I like to find out as I go around the horn is find out, what do you guys think? Are you feeling that these numbers relative to a year ago may or may not be valid because we've had such a weird fall? Elizabeth, what are your thoughts?
I am seeing more homes sitting on the market, and 56 days in the market in the Boulder area is pretty accurate. And I am seeing a lot of price drops, so I think either we're not communicating to our sellers that their houses need to be started at a lower price point, or they're just not showing well enough to sell very quickly. The ones that are selling right now are the ones that are going on the market at a good price and showing really well, as we said, staged and such. So it's very accurate. Yeah.
Carrie, how about up north?
Absolutely. Obviously, we do have a lot more inventory to choose from. And I think the challenge for sellers right now is, historically, we look at past data to determine the list price. So when they're seeing, oh, well, my neighbor sold for X down the street 2 months ago. Well, 2 months ago is quite different, even 4 months ago, 6 months ago, than this snapshot in time. We like to say the market is like the weather. It is right now. So typically, we would look at historical data, but I think what's really important nowadays is to look at active listings as well. What am I competing against? So yes, maybe this number made sense 4 months ago, 6 months ago, etc. But with all these price reductions that we're seeing, what am I really competing with? That is what I need to keep in mind.
Camelia, what are you seeing down in Colorado Springs?
Well, I think Carrie's spot on. You said that very well. You cannot use comps in that 6-month window that we're used to doing. You cannot do that. The market is changing under our feet every day. And so every house, looking at the active and the solds right within a 30, 45 day window, what is actually happening? We're seeing, as you heard, 41%. There's a lot of price reductions. It's interesting because I'm actively showing buyers. I think there was this big pause with the election. I think that really affected kind of our fall market. But I'm working with 4 active buyers right now. We are short buyers in our market, and I don't really care how you price your house. You're going to be sitting on the market. This fall, you were sitting on the market. We saw very few inventory homes go on and go off immediately. And to Elizabeth's point, they had to be just priced so incredibly well, and just that kind of that unicorn home, right, that everybody wanted. Mm-hmm. We saw a lot of buyers just on hold, but I personally have listings, and I can show my clients comps, exact house price at this point, and we're just sitting, we're not moving. And then in the last 5 days, I think we're working on four deals right now. Since the election. But yeah, it's an interesting conversation with clients. You had a lot of equity gain during the COVID market, and now we're coming off of that equity gain. That was just kind of a false high, and so now we're back down to reality. For my buyers right now, we're out shopping, and houses have been on the market 57 days, 140 days. Sellers are, on a weekly or every other week basis, reducing the price, and they're still offering seller concessions. So the reality is there. The buyers are calling the shots right now.
Heather?
I agree. I've noticed just not as many showings on our listings, and I think it's just kind of a combination. I don't think it was so much the election. Maybe it affected some people. I think the everyday buyer, I don't think they were hinging on it. I think it's more about rates and affordability. The only buyers that I really see out there right now are cash buyers. It's crazy the amount of cash buyers that are out there. I had a listing I put on in Elizabeth. I had 3 cash buyers looking at it. and it was a $1.6 million house. I would say buyers are very, very particular. They can be choosy because there are almost 60% more houses this year than there were last year. So they're really being picky about what they choose. And most everyone is asking, if they're not a cash buyer, they're asking for concessions of some kind. So that I think all of our sellers need to be educated and prepared that this is not 2021 or 2022. This is our new normal.
Debbie.
I think this is a great time for buyers, and this traditionally for my market is a great time for buyers because the properties that did get listed at a too high of a price or an inexperienced agent may have started doing a price reduction on day 10 or day 7, which in this market, we know that we're closer to 30 days on market or 27 days on market in my neighborhood. And the inexperienced agent in my neighborhood might go, oh my gosh, we put the house on the market for $1 million and we didn't get 5 offers. We must be too high. And so they started price reductions maybe a little too early in the game. And then what ended up happening is now it looks like it's stigmatized. They're not getting showings. And then that's when it's a great time for your buyers to come in and really analyze, what do you want to pay for this house, and let's write an offer, even if it's a little bit lower or even substantially lower than what they are listing it for. And November, December, that is a great time, and it always has been, to be able to do that.
Showing your property at its best online is one of the first of many important steps to getting your home sold. At Rocket Media, we provide you with the best quality photos taken by staff photographers, not contractors, who process your photos individually. We use our proprietary Flash HDR process, which combines the natural look of HDR with the color accuracy of Flash, along with properly exposed windows. Rocket Media's HDR process is clearly exceptional. Find out more and schedule online at rocketmedia.com. And on this rental report, like every week, we have Greg Batchelor. Hi, Greg.
Good morning, Rick. How are you?
I'm doing good. And Greg is from Real Property Management, and they help to keep people out of trouble. And one of the things that he often sees are, what are some of the mistakes that, say, a landlord makes? And so we were going to go through some of those, and hopefully you can either learn from him or you can just hire him and he'll take care of them and keep you out of trouble. So, Greg, what are some of the common mistakes that you see out there?
Yeah, that's a great question, Rick. So here's the number one mistake that we see the landlords make. They get a feel, quote unquote, for the tenant, and then they go ahead and move them in without running criminal background checks, credit background checks, any background verification of any form. They just get a quote unquote feel for the person, and then they go ahead and move them in. And then all of a sudden, interestingly enough, I took that call yesterday from a landlord who had moved someone in on a good feel, and now it's turning out to be a mess. So that's probably the number one mistake that we see folks make on the landlord side. The second mistake that we see is that they go pick a generic lease off of the internet and they use that lease to then go ahead and sign with their tenants. Well, no offense to a lease that was made in Virginia or whatever the case may be, but it does not take into account what Colorado real estate laws are like, what rights that landlords are afforded, what's the line between where, when we talk about this, that a landlord's rights come up to this place and the tenant's rights go from here, and picking a generic lease that was manufactured by an attorney in Virginia is probably just not a good idea. And then the third thing is, a lot of mistakes that we see that landlords make is they try to do this on their own when they really don't have the time, the expertise, the understanding. They don't have the time to invest to then come up the learning curve. And so then they make some mistakes because they simply don't have the cycles to really do it, but they want to try to save a little money and not have a property manager like us or something like that. So those are the three biggest mistakes that we see from landlords.
Do you often see that, speaking of time or money, do you often see that they also aren't properly pricing their, how much they should rent for?
Yes, we are seeing a ton of that. As a matter of fact, that's probably the number one round of calls that we're getting right now is I can't get my place rented, but maybe you can. And then when we meet with them, we find out they're trying to charge $3,800 a month in rent when comps in the area and other comparable homes are renting at $3,200 a month, for instance. And in that particular scenario, then you absolutely have a pricing problem on your hands. And obviously, anybody that has jumped into a mortgage over the past couple of years when interest rates have been higher than they normally have been, that's going to equate to an attempt at higher rental rates. Doesn't always work, most times not, because the market doesn't care what your mortgage is or what your interest rate was. They just want the best price for the rental property.
And of course, they could also be charging too little and not covering their costs, and they're busy having life, and then they don't realize why they're losing money as well on this
We're
rental.
seeing that also.
Yeah. So, well, those are all good things to keep in mind. And obviously, if you're interested in helping keep yourself out of hot water, give Greg a call. He'll walk you through some of these, and that'll make your life a little bit easier. And why don't we flip it around next week and talk about what mistakes, not buyers, but renters do when they're renting properties. What do you say?
Absolutely, Rick. Sounds great.
All right. We'll see you next week. Thanks. When you are getting ready to sell and your agent is marketing your program, some of the things they will want to discover and discuss with you is how you want to show your home. And there are various stages that you can have it, and that could be vacant, virtually staged, which is vacant, but it's staged online. And then you also have actually staged homes. And these ladies tend to typically stage everything. So this topic will be interesting because a lot of times they won't go on the market if it's totally vacant. They'll figure out a way to get it staged. But we're going to talk about when would you possibly not stage a home. And we'll start with Elizabeth. How about that?
Well, sometimes we'll get a fix and flip type home that just is not in great shape. And I think those are the ones that are best just to, not stage and, just get the investors out there.
In other words, if somebody is looking to just sell the place as is, and they don't really care, and they're not looking for top dollar, correct?
100%, yes.
And are there any other times when any of you would do a non-staged, totally vacant house? And this might have a lamp or two in it, but it's totally vacant.
I agree with Elizabeth that if it is a fix and flip or investor, let's say that the property is completely distressed, that would be a great time to have it vacant, because the investor group is really looking at square footage. Where am I going to move a wall? What am I going to do with the kitchen? And they really want to see the actual layout of the property more so than being influenced by, beautiful staging.
So Heather, what are some of the disadvantages, since it seems like they're, obviously you all like to stage homes. What's a disadvantage of having a vacant home?
I think buyers really can't imagine how their furniture is going to fit in a space. A lot of times when a home is vacant, it appears smaller than it actually is in person. And virtual staging or staging in person really gives the eye a place to go and imagine how your furniture is going to fit in that space, and how it's going to work for your family all around. I highly recommend staging it to some degree. In most situations, I very rarely have something completely vacant. When it's really busy, sometimes that, if we have crazy flooring with crazy countertops that aren't very cohesive, I think virtual staging, putting a rug in there, just kind of relaxes your eye and gives you something else to focus on besides that.
Yeah. So, Camelia, are there times when you've ever put a house on the market without having it staged at all, totally vacant?
To be honest with you, I'm not sure that I have ever not staged a home. When I'm out with buyers really tell you why you need to stage a home. And you can show properties back to back. Some are staged, some are just lived in and messy, and others are vacant. And the feedback that they give you is quite educational. And they start talking about, this house doesn't feel cozy. And when you go into a vacant house, and it doesn't feel homey, doesn't feel cozy. A lot of buyers will shop on how something feels. Certainly they'll do the math. Can they afford it? Is it the right layout, the floor plan? But buying and selling real estate, residential real estate, has a lot of emotional components to it. And so I think when you're staging it, you're really telling the story of the home and how a person could live in the home. So I personally feel that I'm doing my clients a disservice to not help them stage the home with their own furniture. If they have a home full of furniture, we'll come in, bring a stager, and we'll stage it with their own things. But if they've moved out and it's vacant, we'll bring some items in, partner with our staging team, and at the very least, virtual staging helps. But you kind of that break point to when do you physically stage it and virtually stage it? That's a whole other conversation. But to your question, yeah, I don't know that I've ever had a vacant home, and for those reasons.
How about small condos, Carrie? Would you still stage those? Or if you're just like, it's just a condo, it's got 2 bedroom, 2 bath, and people can kind of gather what it is? Or is that also something you wouldn't do?
That's a great question, Rick, because actually I just listed a property, and it is a small 2-bedroom condo. It's $250,000 here in Fort Collins, so it's really priced well for a 2-bedroom, and I decided to virtually stage it. This is the first time I've actually virtually staged a property instead of physically staging the property. So I'll keep you posted how that goes. I think for me, one of the important things is buyers not only pick the homes that they want to see online, but they also eliminate the homes they want to see from looking at the pictures online. So I really want to make sure that we have the best of the best as far as capturing their attention, standing out above the competition as far as that goes. So I think, in my opinion, it's important to have some level of staging. Have I ever not staged a property? Well, Rick, doing this for over 20 years, I'm sure I have at some point, but I can't recall off the top of my head.
So Carrie mentioned, it sounds like probably should have some semblance of staging. And if your agent is telling you, oh, you don't need any furniture in here, you can go ahead and do it. And so just personal experience, when I sold my last home, it was in a slower market. We had all of our furniture in there, and then it was good furniture. And we ended up saying, well, we're going to go ahead, and after 4 months, we said, well, maybe it's our furniture. So we took it all out, and then it was totally vacant. And our agent didn't say, don't do that. That's really dumb. And it took another 6 months after that to get it sold. So, we were like, well, maybe they can picture their own furniture in there if we're not in there, but it doesn't seem like that's the case because people can't judge scale and how the furniture should be laid out and that sort of thing. So it sounds like going vacant is probably not the best option. So Debbie?
I was going to say, oftentimes when you're doing an open house, if it's staged, this happened to me yesterday. So I'm doing an open house. It's staged with my staging equipment that I have in the family room. And the buyers came in, and because they were so comfortable and they were really very interested, they actually sat on the staging, the couch, and sat there with their child and really kind of like soaked in how the ambience of that property. And so true staging, I think also helps that buyer to sit, relax, and really contemplate whether or not this is the right home for them.
Well, that's a good point.
Can I be devil's advocate here?
Yeah.
I had a house, a condo staged in Westminster, And it had been the month, we had the photos done with it. We took the furniture out. I did an open house. And because the furniture was out of it, the buyer who ended up buying it was very creative. And the dining room, she's like, well, there's a bathroom right there. I could make this into a bedroom, and then I would have exactly what my family needs. And she ended up buying the home, just thinking outside the box. So I don't know. I mean, on occasion, I will have my clients, if they don't want to stage it, I will do a virtual staging, but sometimes after the staging furniture goes out, I have people, come in and use their own imagination. So I don't know. I'm the outlier.
On the other hand,
I do love staging, and you get more money for homes typically, but on the rare occasion.
Heather?
I was going to say 82% of realtors who were surveyed said that staging gave their buyers a way to visualize the home and imagine them in it in their future, for their future home. Also, 73% a home that is staged spends 73% less time on the market than one that's not. So it is a very bad idea not to stage, in my opinion. But once in a while, you've got a client that just absolutely doesn't want it. And you just could, what do you do with that?
Heather, I agree with you. I mean, obviously, we did stage the house first. But there are those times.
I agree.
Once in a while.
Help.
Yeah.
Once in a while, it's tough. Also, your home is, you live in it. So it's hard to look past the things that, like I say in my own home, I even had my own home staged by someone else when I put it on the market, which was a very good idea because even I can't see the things that need to be done. I walked by a plant that was half dead for 2 years. Only a stager or somebody else can give you that insight to say, maybe it's time to retire this plant, or, give it away to somebody who can get it back to life. Also, I always tell my sellers, homes that are staged sold up to 25% more for more money than one that was not. So why wouldn't you do it? I mean, just trust in your agent to make sure that your home shows better. You need to be either the best price or the best house. And sometimes we've got to come to a happy medium where we are the best price for the best bang for the buck. And investing in staging in some capacity is always going to bring you more money.
Well, I know Elizabeth and Carrie mentioned virtual staging, so I kind of wanted to give you an idea of what that is, because some people don't know. So this is how we took the photo. It was totally vacant, and with the exception of these bookshelves. And then we sent it out to a company who then took and virtually staged everything, including the books on the bookshelves. And so obviously this has a little bit more of a homey feel to it. And none of the furniture or the rug in this furniture, whether it's indoor or outdoor, are actually on there, nor are the pictures. Is the picture on the wall actually there? This is all virtually done. And obviously this helps with online. You can also see the furniture outside, out on the patio, as well as the virtual furniture inside, and also back in the dining room. So this is all virtually staged, and it gives a whole different look to it. And this is a unique property. This is the way we photographed it. And then this is with the virtual staging. And the homeowner, this is a very expensive home down in Castle Pines Village. The homeowner loved the virtual staging so much, they literally went out and bought a pool table and a ping pong table and staged it for real. I don't have a picture of that. I should put that in this loop because it's pretty interesting how they go, oh, we love what you did virtually. And then here's another one where we have some legacy furniture in there. And this is what it looks like with the virtual staging. And here's one more shot, which is an outdoor shot. The furniture inside the dining room is there, but the furniture on the patio was virtually staged, as well as the This is very interesting. The flowers are not real either on this picture. Those are all virtual flowers. And we didn't request it, nor did the agent. They just put them in. So have you all done virtual staging with it? Yeah. So, Carrie, you had mentioned that you've done some virtual staging, and probably something that should be mentioned is that not all virtual stagers are alike, correct?
Absolutely. So I've just dipped my toe into the pool of virtual staging. I typically do actual staging, actual furniture. So this was my first foray into it, and I had some reservations. Unfortunately, the staging company that was utilized virtually, at one point when I originally got the pictures back, the fruit on the kitchen table was floating. It just didn't look authentic. And in this world of AI, I think just the most we can do to make this look homey, inviting, realistic, so people can envision themselves in there. I think that's truly important instead of kind of maybe cutting corners. Camilla did make a great point. It's incredibly expensive to stage. So I just wanted to pause and put one caveat. Myself up here in Northern Colorado, I typically won't stage the full house.
Okay.
I'm staging the major parts of the home. That's the living room, if there's a dining room, a kitchen, maybe an office. So some of those major components. Sometimes I'll stage the basement if it's got some secondary living space, maybe an in-law suite, something along those lines. So I'm typically not staging every single room, every single bedroom. It's just to get the buyers a taste of themselves living in it.
And Debbie, go ahead.
So likewise, sometimes let's just say that the client is actually going to remain in the home. Another portion of the staging could physically be removing items. So let's say that they have a legacy piece of furniture that is an antique or something like that, and it does not fit the rest of the home or the stylizations of the home. That would be a good piece to actually remove that item. And to Carrie's point, if you're not going to stage the entire home, my preference is that first 30 seconds, whatever the first 30 seconds is, that gets staged very, very well. And what I mean by the first 30 seconds is, as the buyer's entering into the property, what do they see in that first 30 seconds? Because that really does set the tone for the rest of the showing. And I feel like that's very significant to have that either professionally done or so beautifully done that they are intrigued by the rest of the home.
And Elizabeth, do you do virtual staging on any of your listings?
I've used virtual staging quite a bit. I always recommend my clients to stage, but sometimes they're moving to Italy or this, that. I mean, there's all these different situations, and it's just something that they did not want to do. And so I have enjoyed learning how to virtually stage. I've tried some that are not so good and other companies that are fantastic. And so, yes, I have used it quite a bit in the past.
Heather, I've found that you get what you pay for in the virtual staging world, just like with real actual in-person stagers. Have you found that to be the case?
Yeah, I do. I love the company I've been using. And they do take a little longer. So there is that caveat. It's going to take 24 to 48 hours usually to get my renderings back. But, if you don't like what they produced, you can always request something else. So
doing changes.
That's been helpful.
I've been working with these ladies for probably, about a decade or so. And the one I've been recommending is boxbrownie.com. We'll give them a plug because they're really good. They're not the cheapest, but they do a good job. And the pictures I showed earlier are from them. And what they do well is they do lighting and shading, and they also, if you need to make a change, they can make that change and they don't charge you again. But they're not the cheapest. There are a lot of cheaper options out there, and they're not just less expensive, they're cheaper. And so what do you, I've often heard this come up that, well, but if I virtually stage and then they show up, there's no furniture, what does that do? And, you know, how do they feel? And my answer usually is, well, there are times when we take the pictures with the furniture and the next day the movers come. So it's kind of the same thing. And so virtual staging isn't perfect, but it does give people an idea. And it seems like Carrie would be a good use for that legacy furniture to get, you know, to show online how it can look hip.
Absolutely. In fact, not every person is able to move out of their house, which sometimes when I go into a home and there's a lot of legacy furniture, and when we are discussing legacy furniture, maybe we're saying what some buyers would consider outdated or doesn't match their furniture or give them an appropriate level of context for their items, then we do have to make those adjustments. And as Debbie mentioned, sometimes it's getting our staging consultants in there to walk through the home with them and say, hey, well, if we remove this piece, or if, you know, we turn the couch this way, then we will optimize the square footage and the flow of the home. Because at the end of the day, we are selling square footage. So we want to highlight in the best possible way. One of the things also to keep in mind is if we have amazing hardwood floors, we want to showcase that. So from that stager that comes in and gives a consultation to the sellers, it's, well, maybe we take up this Oriental rug that's gorgeous and incredibly expensive, but it's hiding those features that we're really trying to optimize. So that's a great resource as well if we're using it in a home that somebody's going to stay in and are occupying.
Have any of you ever done easels with the virtually staged in a vacant room?
Yeah.
Elizabeth, yeah, it's a good idea.
Yeah,
I have.
Yeah, it's a way
We actually had a property in, it was in Franktown, and it was really, really dated. It was a very, Spanish style, old clay tile. And we had the Box Brownie company virtually remodel the kitchen. And then we put the rendering in the home so people could visualize, oh, well, if we updated the cabinets and we did different countertops without flowers on them, it really, really opened buyers' eyes. And we did get competing offers on that.
Debbie, you were going to say something?
Yes, I've used it in the past where I did have it was a duplex that was in Wash Park, and it had not been touched since 1979. And oh my goodness, did it need a lot of work. And so I had a designer come in and do exactly the same thing that Heather was talking about. And then we did these beautiful renditions. And then I also added in my comments that this was the rendition of what it might look like. And I actually put that on the MLS, fully disclosing that was not what the property looked like, but could look like. And I'm just about to do that with a listing that I just put on the market this last week, where the stucco on the outside is lemon yellow, and it's not the best look probably for that particular property in that neighborhood. And so I am going to offer some suggestions of what the paint color might look like with, a little bit more TLC, let's say.
There's a lot of AI tools, and that's why most of the MLSs today require it. I know down in Colorado Springs, they even require you to put the original picture, right, Camelia? And then if you do any virtual staging or touch-ups or things like that, that you have both pictures in there, which means you're taking twice as many pictures for the same number of settings down in the MLS. And so it seems like that virtual staging has its place. It isn't necessarily great. Have any of you ever had any of your homeowners push back on doing the updating virtually? on the online, where because I've heard agents say, well, I told them we could do this, and the homeowner said, I love my furniture. So it would seem like that was a homeowner not listening to their agent, because the agent was getting vibes that the furniture was dated and probably should not be should show something a little bit more modern. And to do it virtually, then it costs a lot less than doing it with staging, which leads us to what everybody on this panel loves to do because of lots of different reasons, and many of whom we've already heard about. But let's go through some more. What's the benefit of of actually staging the properties? We don't have to go into all this because this is a topic in and of itself. We might do a whole topic just on staging benefits, but maybe name a few of them, and we'll start with Heather this time.
Oh, benefits of staging?
Yeah. Yes.
Sell for more money in less time.
More money, less time. Quicker, faster.
If you don't want to sell for more money in less time, then don't stage your house.
And Carrie.
Well, just pause and jump back to what you said, Rick, about the sellers maybe not taking our advice. At the end of the day, we are consultants. And I think that's important to keep in mind, that we're here to give our educated opinions and share our knowledge. And if the sellers aren't interested or aren't able to do that, at the end of the day, it is their choice. But I completely agree with Heather. When the market was crazy, we were getting multiple offers, sight unseen, etc., strictly from pictures. I was still staging homes. I think it's incredibly important. Our job is to get our clients top dollar, and that's what we're here to do. And we know that it's important, so that's what we're shooting for. Top dollar.
Debbie?
Well said. I couldn't agree more. And likewise, even during the multiple offers craziness, I absolutely, and especially with a higher price point, I had my professional stager, which was costing a very lot of money per month. And I didn't care because that was bringing that multiple offer and urgency on the buyer's part, because there were so many people that were at the open houses and visiting the property. It was very clear that if they didn't put in an offer right then, or pretty close to then, that they were going to miss out on that opportunity. So that professional staging was even as important, if maybe not more important, during those crazy times.
And Camelia, I know you're a big fan of staging because, as you said earlier, you do it on pretty much everyone. What are some of the benefits you've seen?
Well, I think from the seller perspective, switching it from the buy and quick sell and fastest sell and highest price possible on the buy side, I think for the sellers, I think for them it's actually good preparation for moving, because when you're staging, you're cleaning out closets and you're packing up personal things, and there's you really get a head start on that moving engagement time, because once you go under contract, it's kind of a fast pace from the under contract to closing. So I think that whole preparation, preparing the home, getting it ready, staging it, really is kind of a pre-packing, pre-moving stage. And it just makes the end of that contract period much easier. They're already thinking through, okay, you get a storage unit to put my boxes in, or clean out the garage. So it really, to me, I feel like it helps the seller not feel so stressed in that sell process when they have done a lot of this upfront.
Debbie?
So how many times, girls, have you had the seller say, oh my goodness, why didn't I do this 10 years ago or 5 years ago? I don't even know if I want to move. It's so beautiful.
Oh, yeah, don't do that.
Most of our clients ask if we can stage their next house when they buy.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I've actually had 2 sellers decide not to sell once we had their home staged. We redid the floors, we painted, we did all this stuff. It took us like 6 weeks, and they changed their mind and said, we want to live in our home. We love our home again. So that was funny. Only twice, but it has happened.
So that's never actually happened to me for sure, but they do really appreciate how beautiful the space becomes. And I think they get excited about who that next buyer is going to be.
Elizabeth.
I just wanted to also say that sometimes staging is when they're self-staging. You have your consultant come in, walk through the whole house, help them figure out, how to declutter and such. Sometimes they cannot leave their home, and so moving around, showing, as Carrie had mentioned, the square footage by moving furniture here and there, getting rid of personalized items is very helpful, and also helps them with the moving process, which I've also heard of before. But staging professionally staging cannot always be done. And so we are, again, consultants and guiding our clients, but in the end, they make those decisions. And I've had incredible experiences with my clients taking what they've learned from a walkthrough with a professional stager and having their homes amazingly perfect. I think you've even, Rick, thought that they were professionally staged at times.
Yeah, there are some homeowners who live in staged homes. Most people don't. Yeah. Carrie, so it seems like that obviously you had a question or had a statement.
Well, no, I was just going to throw it out there to the broader community that I think as experienced real estate agents, it's important for us to also gauge our clients' capabilities as well. Sometimes we're working with people who perhaps they've had a significant other who's passed away, or they've been in this house for 40 or 50 years and they just don't have the capabilities to do things like that. And I know that maybe sending in a professional stager to do a consult doesn't make sense and might make the process even more stressful. That's not what we want. This is an incredibly stressful process anyways. So sometimes I'm over there and I'm maybe hiding things in a drawer or putting things away, taking down some pictures, obviously with their permission, letting them know that I'm just trying to help them through the process, whether it's a couple hours before or even days before the photo shoot, just helping them, being their extra hands and feet through this process, because we completely all understand that it's not possible for everybody. So we're gauging that as well. It's not just a blanket statement that we're using here.
And that may once again be a good idea for use of virtual staging because the virtual staging can also remove items digitally. So they can take stuff out of rooms if you don't have time to get them out, or if the homeowner doesn't want them out, but it's going to help sell it. It's obviously a sensitive topic with a lot of homeowners to be careful of with that as well. And obviously, how many of you actually pay for your own staging? Or do the homeowners pay for it, or is it hybrid? You all pay for it? We'll start with who pays for it.
I'm a hybrid.
Okay, so hybrid and...
Hybrid.
I have a storage unit filled with enough staging to do a small home, and depending on what I have, and I also have a team of my own that helps me with staging, so I can facilitate either way. But if the price point is, in a very nice, larger custom home, as an example, I'm still going to have that professional come in and do maybe that first floor. While I would do the bedrooms, and I always have the bedrooms. I don't ever have them vacant. I always have them staged either with my own or with a professional.
So obviously, Carrie, that comes up, cost is an issue.
For myself, I do actually pay for the staging as part of the full service that I provide. Please remember, I'm up here in Northern Colorado, and we're a different market than Denver or even Colorado Springs. But I hire my professional stager to come in and just make it shine in the best possible light. When I started in real estate, I did go ahead and have furniture that I brought in, but I quickly came to realize that I'm not a very good interior designer. So I let the professionals do what they do. In fact, my husband's probably a better interior designer than I am. So I'm just going to leave it to the professionals. And in my opinion, it's worth every penny. They've got the right equipment, the right accessory, so to speak.
Yeah, it's more than just dropping a couch. You got it in the middle of the living room. It's everything that goes along with that couch. Camellia, you have kind of a hybrid where you have some furniture, but you also use a stager, correct?
Yes. So every home gets a staging consultation. So doesn't matter who you are, what price point, we have a staging consultation. When it's a vacant home and I feel like I can stage it, there's a certain price point that I will not stage just because I don't have the kind of equipment. But I have 2 or 3 different staging partners, one in particular. If she's too busy or doesn't have the inventory, I'll move to maybe another one. But yep, I do a hybrid. I kind of always had a staging just kind of from the very beginning. But some homes, so we have 3 tiers of staging. We have vignette staging, we have just simple accessories, and then we do a partial stage and then a full stage. So depending on, every homeowner it has its own set of circumstances. So there's not one size that fits all, but we do have 3 different staging packages. And we know when to bring the stagers in or when to use our own inventory. So I just built that into my business, years and years and years ago. So I know my limitations from my team perspective and certainly have staging partners, but everybody does get that consultation. And I like what Carrie said earlier, going back to that, there are some homeowners, if they're older, they're elderly, they lived in their home for 50 years, they can't move out, and there's not a whole lot we can do with those homes. And I think that's where those 5 pillars of strategy come in: pricing, timing, pricing, prepping, staging, and marketing. You price the home according to what its capabilities are for presentation on the market. So if you want top dollar, we go down that staging route and prepping. But if you can't go down that route, we're not going to necessarily get top dollar, but we're going to get the dollar that home is worth and what the consumers think it's worth. So it all plays, all those stages play together. And so no pressure on the seller's part to have to stage, have to move out, all that kind of stuff. We can work with every circumstance and every situation.
Heather, what do you do?
Well, we're a team. So there are 6 of us on our team. We also have an assistant that helps us with staging. When it requires furniture is when it we ask that the client pay for the rental of the furniture, depending on how long they decide to do that. But we do have a ton of inventory for, plants and accessories. All the accessories, wall art, and everything else like that comes from us. But if it's requiring furniture is when we call in a furniture company to help us. But we do a consultation with everybody. 2 of our agents, Wendy and Adelia, are both certified stagers. So they just tell me what to do and I do it.
That's nice. Well, and of course, we have as you've all discussed, there are the staging from a house that's totally vacant all the way up to just sprucing up a house and maybe decluttering, adding new furniture. And, but what you really want to do is listen to your agent when they say, take this out, leave it in, because I think those items will help sell it. They're only doing it to help you get a better price on it, and also obviously to sell it faster. So staging is really important, both inside and out. And I think any of these ladies would be awesome to work with to help you get there relative to getting your home staged and then getting it sold. So how do you decide who's going to originate your mortgage? And here to help us navigate that whole process is Nancy Alexander. She's with us every week to talk about mortgages. And this is a topic that most people don't really think about. They think, well, I just get a mortgage. And they all have different rates and they all have different fees and stuff like that. I don't know. I'm just going to go with whatever. So how would I go about finding a loan originator and then also working with that person and deciding which is the best? How's that work?
I think it's a brilliant question. It is the question, Rick. No question about it. That we got to start that over.
Okay. So how do I go about finding a mortgage? My eyes are bloodshot. I just realized that. So how do I go about finding a loan originator and making that connection and maybe interviewing different ones? How does that work?
Good question. So getting a loan is about two things, more than what it's about anything, and that's about the fees and the rate. So remember, you can get a market rate. We've talked about this a little bit before.
Mm-hmm.
You can pick up on market rate where you're not paying anything and you're not getting anything. Or you can get a rate that is substantially lower than that, but what are the fees going to be? So again, it's having that conversation, it's interviewing that originator and how are they doing business? What is their platform? You're going to either work with a banker or you're going to work with a broker. And the broker is going to put you with the best investor for what it is that you're wanting to achieve. But in all of this, Rick, it's the LE, right? It's that loan estimate.
Mm-hmm.
And that loan estimate is going to show here's the rate, but here's the fees associated with it. So again, when somebody's promising something that sounds so low, it's because the fees are going to be so high.
You're all basically working with the same numbers. Is that correct? Or you can shop and find a low rate and low fees or lower fees?
I think you can, no question. I mean, I've been doing this for 30 years. And so it is finding that balance. It's finding that scale that is going to balance out, that's going to say, okay, I'm comfortable with the fees and I'm liking the interest rate. And then, of course, what tops it all off, right, is service.
Right. And if somebody, it doesn't do you any good to have low rates and even low fees if you can't get closed because you have nobody to service it.
I was going to say, you're right. If you can't get closed, it's all for naught anyway, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, again, I would say the same thing that I would say to any professional that we're going after, right? An attorney, a banker, a broker, a doctor even, interview. How long have you been doing this? What do you specialize in? You know, what type of communication do you offer? Are you going to be talking to me on a weekly basis? Is your follow-up instantaneous? Is it 2 hours behind? Is it etc.? How long does it take me to get a loan estimate? What do I have to do to get this? Yeah, I think those are all really good questions, and work with that individual that you are comfortable with and you like those responses and those answers.
So it's like everything else. You just need to do some interviewing. You can't just assume they're all created equally. And so if somebody's working with you, do you provide them with multiple options or you just go out and shop and find the best? No, you do.
No, absolutely. I think when somebody's coming in, especially a first-time home buyer, and they're coming in and saying, Nancy, I'm brand new to this process. So where do we start? So that really to me is fun because you're just starting with a blank slate and you're starting to put those puzzle pieces together for them. So you're going to give them those options as to say, here's A, here's B, here's C, here's the pros, here's the cons. Here's what I would do, and this is why this is what I would do. And I say it's not just your first-time home buyer. It's anybody that is looking to be creative in this is what I'd like to do. What's my best avenue for getting that done?
Okay. And I assume depending on what type of loan, it may also depend on where you turn, right? Whether you're doing VA or FHA
Conventional, jumbo.
Right.
Etc.
And so you're going to be shopping those. You're basically acting like a shopping agent and looking for those options. And you'll say, okay, here's option A, here's option B, here's the pros and cons of each. And quite honestly, I'm guessing if I went to a bank, they're going to say, here's option A or option A.
And you're right, because option A is literally their money, it's their resources, that's all they have to sell. And so where your broker has many avenues to sell, but their job isn't to put this plethora of information out to you, it's to narrow it down for you and to give you those best options. That's my opinion.
Well, that's great information. And one of the easiest ways you can short circuit this is just hire Nancy. She does a great job. She's not a sponsor of this program. She just gives a lot of really good advice, and you can obviously reach her at the number here on the screen, and she may say, well, this is how I would go, and it may be a totally different direction than the way you're thinking. So reach out to Nancy, and look forward to seeing you again next week, and maybe we'll talk about investing and from that perspective. All right, we'll see you next week. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
So the first home for sale is in Aurora at 21871 East Allens Park Drive. It's for $925,000, and that's as of the date of this recording. And as we all talked about earlier, it may change as things come along, so don't hold Heather to this price. But Heather, tell us a little bit about this home.
So it is a beautiful 2-bedroom, 2.5 bath ranch style in a 55 plus community in Aurora. It is Douglas County schools. So it's kind of a unique area where you're in Douglas County, but you're and Douglas County schools, but you're actually in the city of Aurora. So anyway, it's beautifully staged. This home has a beautiful gourmet kitchen with a 48-inch Gen Air professional style cooktop and oven. It has 4 ovens. I mean, so the person who buys this home is going to love to cook. It does have a main floor study and a full unfinished basement with lots of windows. What I love about the family room in this house is the sliding glass door opens really, really wide. So that whole open space view is virtually right there. And you can see a little bit of a mountain view too. So I would love you to sell it.
Yeah, this is a great primary bathroom. Got your own soaking tub and separate shower, big walk-in closet. Really, really nice. And if I remember, the secondary bedrooms were quite spacious as well, correct?
It's huge. Yeah, it really is large.
And yeah, there's the study and the offices and really well appointed. Great home, awesome garages. It has 3-car garage, right?
It's a 3-car garage. Yeah, it's a split 2-car and one is a 1-car. They both have entrances into the home. Some of those split 3 cars don't have an actual entrance to the garage, but this does into the house. And it's really done nice with they're fully insulated, finished with epoxy floors in the garage too. So it's really, really nice.
Well, this is amazing. If you want to see it, please feel free to reach out to Heather. I'm sure she'd love to show it to you. Thanks, Heather. The next listing we want to talk about is 925 Columbia Road, Unit 122 in Fort Collins. It's currently at $250,000. And as I mentioned before, that's as of the date of this taping. And Carrie, tell us about this property.
So thanks, Rick. This is a condo in Central Fort Collins. It's 2-bedroom, 1 bath. It overlooks open space, community open space. It's great proximity to everything. We've got walk to groceries, restaurants, dining, on the bus line. So great Central Fort Collins location. It's been totally updated. You'll notice that Scandinavian style kitchen there. We've got the luxury vinyl plank floors throughout that main area. We do have a wood burning fireplace, which is a great feature. And so this is a really competitively priced 2-bedroom condo in Fort Collins that's move-in ready. So hopefully you'll take some time to give me a call and take a look.
Yeah, please reach out to Carrie. She'd love to show it to you. And also today, we are showing an amazing home at 4440 Monitor Rock Lane in Colorado Springs. And it's listed for $1.7 million by Camellia Corey. And Camellia, tell us about this property. It's amazing.
Yes. Well, thank you, Rick. This is a beautiful property. It sets up on the mountain in a community called Cedar Heights. This is almost 7,000 square feet, and it has actually, this was a custom built home. Some years back, and as you can see, the post and beam, a lot of woodworking. It's kind of that beautiful Colorado feel when you walk in. Very custom, very spacious, workable kitchen. I love that shot right there of the front entryway, the front door. That is a pond, a running indoor pond. But this, one of the reasons I love this home is because it's great for entertaining. The spaciousness of how the main floor is laid out. You do have an office on one end of the home and a primary suite on the other end, and everything in the middle is just great for entertaining. Gorgeous, gorgeous views of the city. You do have some mountain views out these windows. The kitchen, great for many cooks, big parties, family gatherings, multiple eating areas, high-end appliances. The decks are also amazing. So out the back, you've got a very long, expansive deck, wraps around to the side of the house, and then at the end of the house, you have another deck. So again, those are the views, expansive views off to the east, to the north. You've got some to the south as well. This is the spacious primary suite. It does have a fireplace, just a very large bedroom and bathroom, and 5-piece bath, great soaking tub, gorgeous views. This is one of those homes you don't need curtains because no one's going to be looking in. Here's that study there on the main floor with some built-ins. It's a great home to raise a family in, but just also be retired in. This lower level is also great for entertaining. Bring your party downstairs. You can watch the game. There's a bar down there and an outdoor patio. Kind of a low maintenance yard. One thing I do love about this home. But in that lower level, you have 3 bedrooms. One is an ensuite. The other 2 share a very large bathroom, the double sink. So again, it's up in Cedar Heights in Colorado Springs. Just a wonderful mountain community. It's this house to get to downtown is about a 15-minute drive, 16-minute drive. So it's kind of that mountain feel without having to drive a long ways to get up into the mountains. So great home.
This is
definitely
a home you have to see in person. The views, and as best we can try and capture them, they're just spectacular from this home. And I'm sure Camille would love to show it to you. So give her a call. Well, this has been a great show and very informative. I love talking about staging, when you should stage, when you shouldn't. If you want to get a hold of any of these agents, I'm sure they'd love to talk to you about what's going on in the market and how to best stage your home. Give them all a call at the number on the screen. There's lots of other information on the previous shows that we've done. Be sure to check it out at theproshow.com and also on your favorite podcast app. And we appreciate y'all being here again this week. Thanks.